Just a last question just
Exactly.
came out in my mind. Do you do
Sure.
time lapses with your phone ever? Hello, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Hello, Pavel. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. I'm really excited. I know you for a while. We met probably one or two times we met, and it's always pleasure to follow your social media journey. You're posting some crazy photo. Well, I wouldn't say crazy, but they're really aesthetic landscapes, and I really enjoy them when I see them. So I just
Thank
want
you.
to bring you on board here. Introduce you because I don't literally like to bring only travelers, but I want to bring great people, and you are really an amazing person. So I just want to talk about your journey. I mean, how all this happened, because you have quite a good following. You work with brands. You're really focused on the photography. So how all this happened, Michael?
It all happened, I guess, when I first started enjoying photography, and I was looking for the things that I like about photography. Um, my current sort of genre of interest, that being architecture, time lapses, and cityscapes. That wasn't the first thing that I started within photography. I've shot weddings, I've shot sort of events and things happening at venues. Did shoot some sports photography as well, and it all eventually sort of led to me discovering what I like to shoot in my spare time when there was no clients paying me. Um, and I found myself shooting more and more of skylines and jumping into time lapses and learning about that and shooting architecture of like really cool buildings, interiors and exteriors. And that sort of started opening things up for me. And at that time, I started to basically shut down all the other work that I did because the work was sort of coming through word of mouth. Um, and I was enjoying some of it. Weddings, I was enjoying shooting, but not the business side of weddings because that was just horrible. The couples me and a friend were getting were just like leaving the last budget for photography while paying everyone over the top. You know what the wedding business can be like. I guess everyone's heard the bad stories. Yeah, been through lots of them. So that I wasn't enjoying. So when I could narrow down my interest to match what I like doing, and do that for a living. That was fantastic, and I guess thanks to Instagram and some of the work that I've had over other social media, that opened up for me quite a lot in the last 6 years.
Okay, so I learned something new, because I thought that you mentioned cityscapes. I thought this is also considered landscapes, but now I imagine landscapes is more like nature.
Probably, yeah. There's no strict, I think, naming convention. I say cityscapes because in most of my photos, I do focus on some architecture in the photos. I absolutely love shooting landscapes if I go hiking somewhere or traveling. That I love doing too. But yeah, I would probably refer to these kind of shots. Yeah, landscape more. While in the city, even if I have loads of landscape in the foreground, I try to sort of focus because I like shooting from far away and always getting a unique angles of the city skyline. So it's still, I guess, if it includes buildings, then it would be somewhat a mix of cityscape and landscape.
I see. Okay, so two questions are coming in my mind now. When you say you want to shoot from far, so I want to ask for the geeks that are listening. What lens are you using?
Oh, it depends. But the lens that I have that currently is my most favorite lens. Even though I've just recently, about a month ago, had on loan from Nikon to me because I actually work quite closely with Nikon
Oh,
quite often. I'm not a Nikon ambassador just yet. I hope. I don't know,
okay.
but I work with them quite closely. For a month, they lent me just to play and just to like see what I can create with it. Literally, the most expensive Nikon lens that you can buy new, the 800 mm 5.6. It's like £16,000, and I love the sharpness of it, and I got some cool stuff with it. But at the same time, I hated having it.
Why?
Um, because it was £16,000
Oh,
and it
so
was
you're scared
huge
not to
and
do anything.
heavy. Well, that was one thing. Just I won't damage it. I bought special insurance for it for the duration of the time that I had
Uh-huh.
it. It wasn't that expensive. I was surprised that my insurance company quoted me only £50 to insure it for over 3 weeks. I had it like
Hmm.
almost a month. So that was pretty cheap for £16,000 lens, I thought. So yeah, even though if it got stolen or something happened to it, it would be safe. But just being outside in London somewhere and taking it out from the backpack, putting it on the tripod, because it's not a lens that you should handheld. It's huge, massive, and heavy. It's literally impossible. It was just uncomfortable. It was like I'm drawing too much attention on myself. I don't need this.
Yeah.
And it's only 300mm higher than my personal lens. That's currently my favorite lens, the 500mm 5.6, not an f4, PF Nikon, which is basically half the weight and size of the f4 version, because they use some Fresnel, I don't know how to spell it actually. Some people say Fresnel, some Fresnel lens technology that makes the optics smaller and lighter. So you lose a stop. It's not an f4, it's a 5.6, but yeah, it's just much more comfortable. I can put it in my men bag that I have, and it's still a 500mm and it's super sharp. So yeah, that's my favorite lens. 500mm, I use it on full frame. Sometimes I put a 2x teleconverter on it, and yeah, it works brilliantly. That's the 500 f4. It is huge. Or is that the 800
That's the
that you're checking
800.
out now?
Yes,
Because
I found the
that's the 800.
800.
It is absolutely massive. So having that 800 for the 3 weeks and then giving it back to Nikon, I was just like, oh my god, how much I love my 500 PF.
But
It is so much nicer.
but this seems like you
Um,
need an extra back for this lens.
well, this is the thing. Without the hood screwed onto the lens, I was able to just by inches, without any adapters or anything, squeeze this lens into my massive backpack that I have. And my backpack is big. It's like, I think, 42-liter Mindshift backpack, and it was squeezing it in from literally the bottom all the way to the top. I had to like disassemble some of the compartments, but I was able to put it in my backpack. But still, put a lens or two in that backpack, and suddenly that backpack weighed a ton, an absolute ton. So it was brilliant. The lens was amazing. It was always my dream to try this lens. But after having it for a while, I'd be like, I would never buy this lens. Absolutely never. Even if I was rich, like, filthy Asian rich, would never buy this lens.
Can you be filthy European rich?
I guess you can.
That's the first time I hear that. But
Yeah.
that's the thing
I think it's
about
because
trying.
of the TV show or whatever. Yeah.
That's the thing about trying new things, because you said it was your dream, and if you don't try it, you can either be, it's gonna be still in you, like, oh, it's my dream, I couldn't accomplish it, but you
Yeah.
tried it, like, okay, no thanks. I'm happy with
But this
400.
is the thing. I've once had, I think it was on Top Gear. Top Gear,
Yeah.
right? I think it was James or someone who said that when they were young, they had a photo on their wall as a child, or like a big poster of I can't remember what it was, Lamborghini Countach, I think. One of the, like, all the Lamborghinis, but they already they looked like epic, out of their times, futuristic. And he always thought that one day he might want that car. And then when he, as Top Gear did as a review of that car, he absolutely hated it because it was like not comfortable. The seats were dreadful. He said there was no suspension almost whatsoever because it's a sport car. There was no aircon, no radio. He was like he couldn't reverse it. He was complaining terribly about the car, and then he said he should have never driven that car because it literally ruined his childhood dream.
That's why they say you should never meet your idols.
Yeah, in a way. So like I should have never shot with that lens in a way because it kind of ruined the most expensive lens money can buy. That is a dream lens. Actually, I would not want it. And even if I was asked like, oh, have it on loan, again, I'd be like, I'll be fine with my 500. It's good enough. Seriously, it's the weirdest thing I could ever, say, I think.
I think, I mean, I don't know. Your photos look great, even though 500 is still a really good
Yeah,
one. I had 400.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I have 400, and I can imagine 500 can give you a really decent thing.
As
So
well as that 500 accepts a 2x teleconverter, and I've checked it extensively, and I can shoot at the 1000 millimeter. Then the 5.6 becomes f11, but everything is still sharp. So you just need to, do a longer exposure or raise the ISO, and you still get amazing quality. So, and the teleconverter is like this, tiny. It doesn't add any weight. So I'd always rather shoot with this than the 800. But yeah, the 800 is not meant for things like I do anyway. The 800 is for wildlife photographers or sports photographers, that stand in one place for the whole duration of the event, and they just move the camera on the tripod. They don't move about.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Since you specialize in London, my next question is, can you give us 2, 3, 4 locations that are easy to access? Because I know sometimes you get access to these rooftops that usually people don't get access to. Can you give us some easy to access spots that, everybody can go and just take a nice shot?
Well, I always say that, and quite a lot of people say it, I didn't come up with this phrase, but the best things in life are free. And I do honestly stand by that. I think some of my best London photos were from places that anyone can go to. It's either hills or streets with a view of London that are the best for me, because anytime you go to out of the skyscrapers, that even some of them have free viewing gallery, not just for residents, but just for the public, you're basically missing out on seeing this skyscraper, or you're already in the middle of a skyscraper cluster. So you can't really take whole of London in unless you take a 360 photo. While I like to go far away out of London, at least a few miles, to capture the whole skyline beautifully. Okay. So places that I recommend that are off the beaten path aren't that popular, because if you Google it, you'll come up with hundreds of blogs that recommend most likely the 10 most popular spots. So if I were to choose 3 spots that people might not know of, first one, my personal favorite, is Shooter's Hill. It's not a park, not a hill. Well, it is a hill, but it's just an area in London. It's east of Greenwich, residential area. There's loads of houses there, but there's streets that are at an angle. And between the streets where the houses go down on the left and right, literally you can see loads of streets that have a fantastic view of London. And where the hill is positioned, you sort of got a merge of the city cluster right next to Canary Wharf cluster, and it all forms a nice long skyline. So Shooter's Hill, there's loads of cool roads in Shooter's Hill one can find, would be my first choice. Second choice.
Fun fact, I used to live around that area.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know Shooter's Hill well.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say well, but I know what you mean, because we've been going, even some buses, when they go like that, up and down, you see some small narrow streets.
You see a cracking view.
Yeah. You can get
on
nice
Shooter's
views.
Hill Road, right next to when you go past a Red Lion pub or something like that, I think.
Or Red Lion is, I used to live just next to that pub.
Oh, so that's where the bus goes down towards Greenwich.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, and that's the amazing view on that's on the main street. If you want to go a little bit further up, my favorite road there is called Occupation Lane. Cracking view from there, absolutely cracking. So yeah, even if you ever check out your old place where you used to live, go to Occupation Lane, junction with Shrewsbury Lane.
Okay, we should be taking notes, everybody.
That's the spot. Second place that I really, really like is Norwood Hill. It's almost like same distance from central London, Norwood Park. It's same distance from central London, but south, like Parliament Hill is. But Parliament Hill is obviously, everyone knows that, and it's
Yeah.
always crowded. There's lots of tourists. And even once when I went with 3 or 4 friends, and every one of us, like time-lapsers, had like 2 tripods each, we were kicked out by the warden, saying that this is professional equipment. This is a royal park. You're not allowed to shoot professionally here without permission. And we were like, you're kidding me, right? This is an open park. And he says, if you do not pack and leave in 5 minutes, I will call the police.
Oh dear.
So we didn't want to cause any fuss, and we just packed and went. But that really put me off shooting in Parliament Hill. Some of my time lapses, for a while. I've only been the first time just recently, about 2 months ago, in like the last 2 years. So yeah, going back, Norwood Hill, amazing park, cracking views, whole skyline of London, and you're shooting also with the sun. So if you go there on a like midday, the sun is behind you and it's illuminating all the buildings in front. So that's quite unique. While in places like Parliament Hill and Primrose Hill, you're always shooting against the sun pretty much. The buildings are never with the sun. So that's adding a very, very unique view, I believe.
A good thing.
Third place. A place that I've just also recently discovered. We're talking huge distance from London, at least something like probably 14, 15 miles. Havering Country Park. It's northeast of London, sort of more of a east side, not far off the London Orbital M25. So it is quite a distance from central London, but the alignment of sort of landscape that you've got in the foreground, but the skyline at the background is absolutely fantastic. I went there recently to shoot the supermoon that was meant to be setting across the city skyline, but just as it entered my frame and I was shooting it at 1000 millimeters, that's where clouds appeared, and it was like just coming in and out of clouds. So it just didn't work out. But if it did, it would have been epic, because from that distance away, when the moon would be setting, the size of the moon would literally be the size of pretty much the tallest skyscraper in the city cluster. It would be that huge. So it would be pretty much encompassing the whole skyline when it would be setting. But yeah, it didn't work. So yeah, better luck next month for me.
So is that roughly the view that you're getting from there?
So yeah, that's Shooter's Hill. Yes,
that's Shooter's Hill. It says
that's Shooter's. No. Wait.
It says Havering.
Oh, that's Havering Country Park. Yeah. Sorry, similar view from Shooter's Hill, but just slightly different alignment. Yeah. So this is a view of Canary Wharf, but this is only a narrow view because you can see literally the whole skyline from the O2 all the way to the right. You've got then Shard and the city cluster, everything.
Oh.
So this is only a part of the view you're getting.
Okay, because I didn't find many photos of the skyline. Look, there's a.
There isn't. Indeed, there isn't. I probably have one somewhere on my feed from a long time ago. But yeah, it is indeed a smashing view. However, it needs to be a nice day. Visibility needs to be really clear.
I have a friend who really got into shooting moons. I don't know how, if you usually shoot moons, but she got really excited about this, waking up early, going like shooting moons, the remote controls, and she got really, really into that. Okay, well, these are really good locations. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the country park because far away, but the other ones.
It is quite far away, yeah.
Okay, and my last question is, do you have a favorite photo that you have taken?
Sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry.
Yes, my last question is, do you have a favorite photo?
A favorite photo? Oh, no, I don't think any photographer has.
Yeah, it's like asking me which is your favorite child, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I have my favorites of the month. I have my favorites probably of the year, but I don't think I could just pinpoint one photo that is my favorite. Well, recently, 3 months ago, I shot a moon rise, a super moon rising from a unique location, all the way from Uxbridge, rising just above central London. And technically and visually, it's something that even when I made the vlog about it, I just thought that I will never ever again shoot something this epic, because the conditions were perfect. I was so far away,
Wow.
yet had so clear visibility that it was just unique. But the buildings are as sharp as they can get from that distance, because we're talking something like 20 miles, I think, that I shot it from. Moon was huge. The rise was stunning. It's probably my coolest time lapse. But is it my most favorite photo? Even if I took the one photo from the time lapse, I don't know. This, the one on the left, of the
Oh, was it?
my feed a moment ago. Yeah. See, it's technically one of my favorite ones, but at the same time, it's probably not my favorite photo if I just were to pick one photo. But it's so this is actually the next day from Primrose Hill, but the previous one was from that other spot. So this is a time lapse I shot the day after. If you have a check, I think one post earlier to this one bottom left corner.
This one?
If that's a reel, yeah. No, this is just a photo.
Yeah, this is just a photo. So probably you're talking about this one.
I've never seen this. This one probably is the real. Yeah, I've never shot a time lapse this epic. But at the same time, it's not my best photo. It's not my most favorite photo. But how the moon rose and how huge it was my personal best, probably. Because if you're that far away, usually the buildings on the horizon are barely visible, barely distinguishable, and definitely don't have that much detail. So this is probably my coolest moonrise time lapse, but not my favorite photo. So yeah, it's quite difficult to pinpoint something as a favorite photo.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's really eye pleasing, I can say. Really
yes,
eye-pleasing.
Yeah, I do like it, definitely.
All right, great. Well, that was fantastic. Do you have any closing statement or wish or whatever it is, something that you want to say at the end, or not really?
Your audience, or anyone who's into time-lapse architecture, some travel from time to time, maybe soon, hopefully again, and London-related things, maybe can check out my YouTube, because I'm putting way more work there compared to my Instagram. Instagram's not been my favorite app lately, for many reasons, which probably is another podcast altogether. So yeah, I definitely put more work into my YouTube channel. So if someone likes my content, then hopefully they'll like, for example, a series on my YouTube channel that's called Best Views In, where I do videos about an area and find my favorite locations in that particular area, because that's better and more detailed rather than doing just one video about best views in London and just covering everything in one video, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Hence, I've got more than 15 videos about different small pockets of London and literally finding the best views in that part of London.
That sounds like a great series. All the photographers or people who want some great shots, that's really check it out. Just a last question just came out in my mind. Do you do time lapses with your phone ever?
I do. Yeah, I have. And there's certain situations where it would be physically impossible or commercially not possible to shoot with a camera. One example that springs to my mind was when I was traveling through Germany, and I was in this town called Wuppertal, where they have, I think, the only one in Europe, long working suspended monorail as a transport system with, I think, 14 stations. So it's not like a thing that you see at theme parks, 2 stations, from the car park to a theme park. Actually, one huge line connecting multiple sort of towns in Germany has a working standard mode of transport, monorail going through the city centers. And because I wouldn't be able to connect my camera to the front area and just put all my lens kits and everything, I decided to shoot with my phone. It's actually a video that I'm planning to do on YouTube to show which app I'm using for my iPhone to create time lapses that are miles better than the standard time lapse app in the camera, which I always not recommend to anyone. There's this app I can tell you now called Moment that does something to time lapse, which is called the motion blur, that no other app for the iPhone does. So you know how if you take a live photo, you can swipe up.
Yeah.
And then you scroll to the right and there's a long exposure mode.
Yeah. Okay.
It took the 30 photos and blended them into a long exposure, pretend long exposure.
Okay.
And that's what the other app does in time-lapse. It literally shoots 30 photos every second, blends them as you go, and every frame of your time-lapse with just your phone, with no filters whatsoever, looks like every shot was taken at long exposure, and it's really smooth.
Okay, but I think we can list that app in the description.
There you go. Yeah, I've got no affiliation with that app. Anyway, it's just an app I recommend.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe we get something with the app. Maybe we get something with Nikon anytime in the future. But whatever it is, I mean, I'm sure you're gonna do great because, as I say, you're a nice person. Your content is great. I mean, you're gonna succeed. You're already succeeding. Michael, it's a great pleasure. Yeah, no problem. I'm just saying
pleasure
what I see.
being on your podcast too, Pavel.
I'm just saying what I see. Yeah. It's great pleasure. Thanks so much for joining in. And I'm looking forward to see you in person once again in the near future.
When we can finally meet up. Are you coming to the social in about 2 weeks?
What? 2 weeks social?
There's a travel social. Yeah, there's like a meetup in a pub or bar. I don't know.
Oh.
Like a small event.
Maybe we can do that.
First live event they're doing. Yeah, I'll be there. So yeah, we can definitely come join for a beer.
Great, cool. Great. Okay. See you later then.
Cool. See you later.
Bye-bye.